In this section, we're going to answer the essential question, how do I multiply polynomials? In the previous section, we went through the process of multiplying something times a monomial. Now we're going to multiply polynomials together. Let's take a look at the first question. Multiply by using the distributive property. We've already been using the distributive property in previous sections. Now you're going to see it operating again. A little more complicated, but not too bad. In fact, many of you have already gone through the process of multiplying two binomials together. When it says distributive property class, that means that you have to distribute each term in the first binomial to the entire second binomial. So when you see 2t plus 3 times t minus 4, what you're going to do here is you want to think about this. Is you're going to take this whole binomial, you're going to multiply 2t times that whole binomial, and then you're going to multiply the second term 3 times that whole binomial. So the way that ends up looking is this. 2t, you're going to write here 2t times t minus 4. So there is your first term of your first binomial multiplied by the whole second binomial. Then you're going to take your second term, which is positive 3, and you're going to multiply that by the second binomial. So now when you do this, look class, you just see, oh, these look familiar. This is actually a monomial times a binomial times a binomial. And you know how to distribute those from previous lessons. 2t times t is 2t squared. 2t times negative 4, well, 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. And there's only one t in that multiplication. So we're going to go ahead and write that's 8t, negative 8t. Let's draw our lines so you see this. Now I'm multiplying these two terms and these two terms, and I'm going to multiply the 3 times the t and the 3 times the negative 4. So we've got 3 times t is just 3t, and that's going to be positive because we have a positive here. And then positive 3 times negative 4 is actually negative 12. And now we have multiplied our monomials times our binomials. And now you'll see here is we've got a squared term, got a t term, and a negative 12, a constant. These two middle terms are like terms because they both have the same variable with the same exponent, which in this case is just 1. So now we can write our final answer. This is going to be 2t squared, negative 8 plus 3. So negative 8 plus 3 is negative 5. Again, if you struggle with negative numbers, use your calculator to solve that. Negative 8 plus 3 is negative 5, so negative 5t, because that's a like term, and then we're going to write the negative 12. So there is our answer when it asks us to multiply by using the distributive properties. Take a look at the next one. It takes a little bit longer to do this one. Now in this case, you've got a monomial times a binomial times a binomial. You can't do this all at one time, so don't try. You need to break this up into two steps. First, we're going to multiply the monomial times the first binomial. Then we'll take that answer and we'll multiply it times the second binomial. So let's do that in steps. We're going to multiply the 2 times the 2x squared and the 2 times the 4x. 2 times 2 is 4. And then we all have is an x squared here, so there's our first term. 2 times 4 is 8. And all we have is one variable x, so there's our x. Now that has become a new binomial. Put it in parentheses. And now you're going to carry down the second or the third term, or the second binomial, which is 3x minus 5. And now you look at this. This looks a lot like the previous question. A binomial times a binomial. Some students try to distribute all this at one time. You can't do it, class. Pick two of these, usually the monomial and the binomial, combine those together by distributive property, and then multiply it times the second binomial. Alright, so remember our rule on this. We're going to take this whole binomial and you're going to multiply the 4x squared times that, and then the 8x times the whole thing as well. So when we rewrite this, we're going to have 4x squared times the second binomial, 3x minus 5. And then we're going to take the second term of the first binomial, the 8x, which is positive, and we're going to multiply that times the second binomial. Just like we did from the previous question. Let me clean that up a little bit if I can. Alright, and now we just have monomials times binomials. So let's multiply this out to wrap it up. 4x squared times 3x, we can multiply the coefficients. 4 times 3 is 12. X squared times x, remember we add the exponents, 2 and 1, that's x cubed. Alright, next one, 4 times negative 5 is negative 20. X squared times no variable just gives me back x squared. Now we're going to multiply the 8x times 3x. 8 times 3 is positive 24. X times x is just x to the 1 plus 1. We're adding the exponents. That's x squared. And 8 times negative 5 is negative 40. And x times no variable just gives us back our x. If you look at this again, kind of like the last question, we're now adding and subtracting monomials. X cubed doesn't have a partner. There's no other x cubed term. We've got two terms that have x squared in them. And then the negative 40x, we only have one term with just an x to the first power, so we can't combine those together. So our final answer is 12x cubed. Negative 20 plus 24 is positive 4x squared. And then our final term by itself is negative 40x. There is our distributed polynomial. Okay, one more practice on this. Now I've got a binomial times a trinomial. Here's the cool part. It works exactly the same way. It takes a few more steps, but the same process will solve this one as well. We're going to take this whole trinomial, we're going to multiply that by x, and then we're going to multiply that same trinomial by negative 5. So we're going to take our first term of our first binomial, x, and that's going to get multiplied by 3x squared plus 6x minus 4. And then we're going to take our second term, that's actually negative 5, and we're going to multiply it by that whole trinomial. Now, we can go through the proof and show you how mathematically this works. I've done it before in previous class. If you'd like to let me show that to you, just stop by at tutoring sometime. We'll go over and show you why this always works to simplify or multiply these two polynomials. Alright, now we're down to just monomial times a big trinomial and monomial times a trinomial. That's no big deal. X times 3x squared, well, the 3 has nothing to multiply with, so it's just going to be 3. X times x squared is x to the 1 plus 2, which is x cubed. X times 6x, there's no coefficient in this one, or there's a 1, so 1 times 6 is 6. X times x is x to the 1 plus 1, which is x squared. And x times negative 4 is just negative 4x. Let's distribute the negative 5. Negative 5 times 3 is negative 15. The x value has no partner, so it's just x squared. Negative 5 times 6 is negative 30. The only variable here is just the x, so we just write x. And negative 5 times negative 4. Negative times a negative is a positive 20. Alright, let's see if we have like terms here. X cubed, there's only one of them. X squared, we've got 1, 2. An x term, we have 1 and 2. And a constant, there's only one of those. Let's go ahead and wrap up by combining our like terms. The x cubed, again, is all by itself, so that doesn't get combined. We've got a, careful now because you want to make sure you match these up. We've got a positive 6x squared minus 15x squared. 6 minus 15, that's actually negative 9x squared. If you need to verify that, class, for any reason, don't guess. Use a calculator. We got 6 minus 15 equal to negative 9. So we're good with that. Now we're going to combine the x terms. We got negative 4 minus 30. That is negative 34x. Again, don't guess if you struggle with negative numbers. To put in the original negative 4, you got to use your plus minus key. So negative, let's clear our previous answer. We got negative 4 minus 30 equals negative 34. So that's good. And then our final term, which can't be combined, is our constant, which is 20. So 3x cubed minus 9x squared minus 34x plus 20. Looks good. Let's put a circle around our final answer. All right. So that shows you how to multiply polynomials. I'll start a new video and go through the word problem that's on the right.